but DJ Khaled came to my mind when we were discussing this before.
Mm.
So what do you guys think?
Of him specifically.
I mean, we could hit upon him specifically if you want also. I don't just for the record, I don't like the guy at all.
Same. I'm the same way.
Spoiler alert.
It makes two of us at least.
Yeah.
I have no strong feelings about him.
I have strong feelings. No, I'm
All
just
right, I think we start with Ismail then. And
Yeah,
then
it's not. Go ahead,
No,
Ismail,
no,
please.
you were gonna say something, Ahmed. Kick it off.
I mean, I wasn't gonna talk about DJ Khaled specifically. I was just generally gonna
Yeah,
talk
speak
about
more broadly. That's fine.
cancel culture. Yeah. So I mean, personally, I generally do not agree with canceling people, if that's like the word that we're using. And I know cancel is kind of like a general term, but I think there's also like distinctions that we can make with cancel culture, like canceling somebody, like not talking to them, not listening to them. I personally don't agree with that. I think people's opinions and people's thoughts are should be listened to, regardless of whether you agree with them or not.
what
The
if their
thing,
thoughts are egregiously wrong?
then fight
Or
them.
or
Then fight
lack of thoughts.
then fight those thoughts, because there will be people who will listen to them, and if there's a vacuum where they've been left alone because people have canceled them, then people who gravitate towards that thought process will reach them, and where they won't hear any alternative perspective. Whereas if you continue to engage them, people will see, oh, they're wrong because of X, Y, and Z, so I'm gonna disregard them, right? Like in the marketplace of ideas, and the stage of ideas, uh, that's like the point, right? Like people are supposed to lob their bad ideas, and then they get shot down, right? That's like the point of what we're doing, but like that's not possible if you just say, you know what, I'm not listening to you, I'm not talking to you, go do your own thing on your side of the internet. That's in my opinion a bad precedent to take. Um,
But there's like I think there is a function for cancel culture that extends, and I think there's a reason, or there's a place for it, and that usually is involved with certain people's actions if they've gone to a certain extreme, or even things some people say too. But like, you know, um, we have, like, if you're looking at the Me Too movement, which, for certain people was very necessary. So you have your like Harvey Weinsteins and Bill Cosby's and all that. These are not people who should ever be given a second chance in society. They've done some very severe things. But I think one of the problems with cancel culture was that it applied that uh, same metric, or same punishment, but for different levels of, violations, if you want to call it that. So like some people who were accused of, you know, harassing somebody on a movie set were canceled equally as Harvey Weinstein, who literally for decades raped, many women.
yeah,
So
there's difference between criminal and yeah.
yeah, but even like whether it's criminal or not, it's just, if we were just saying like agreed on like ethical actions or moral actions, there is a function for it. But like you said, I think simply for having a bad idea or a bad opinion, that doesn't necessarily warrant complete cancellation. You could still, choose to not listen to somebody
Yeah.
and say that their ideas could be harmful. So there are people who have harmful ideas, but you know, you still have to measure the degree of which somebody's idea is harmful, and how harmful is it, and has it actually led to certain violence or certain actions, versus it's just a bad idea, right? Um,
Yeah, because I think so. Maybe you can go into like why specifically. I mean, I know this is just an example, but why DJ Khaled specifically is somebody that you don't like? Because in my view, it's more about his inaction, right? So why canceling somebody over inaction is something that is a good idea.
So that's a perfect segue, actually, the way you worded it. So maybe we wouldn't look at it from a perspective of canceling him per se. Um, I think so. Here's my thought process on him specifically, right? He's in a position where he has a following, right? And obviously he has a certain background, certain culture, certain religion. And I think when you get to a point of popularity that he has gained, it's almost an obligation for you to speak up on behalf of your quote unquote people, right? And I think that he's completely missed the mark on that. He's more interested in promoting, whatever vodka drink that he promotes and things like that, as opposed to being a conduit to
I believe.
spread the news and make this issue aware, right? You have people who are non-Muslim, like Macklemore and these guys like that have more of a made a more of a conscious effort to bring this to the forefront. And whereas this guy who has millions of followers, makes millions of dollars, has not said a single word about what's going on. So that to me, you're it's almost an abuse of power that you have to not speak up. So
Well,
that's my beef
so
against him
there,
specifically.
so the thing I have though is like, is it is it sufficient that simply because someone is famous, they're now responsible for speaking about things that are not related to what they do? So like, DJ Khaled, who, if you've ever heard him speak, he's not somebody you really want to have any kind of intellectual take on the Palestinian cause. He's
That's
just
the nicest way to call someone dumb I've ever heard.
like, I'm not saying
You
he
don't
can't
want him
be.
to.
No, but I mean, I get people. You don't have to be like a political scientist to have like a moral consciousness or any of this stuff. Like, if these are things that everybody should agree on, but the way in which you express it, there are other ways that he could potentially express his support. But the last thing I want him to do is to actually say something, because I've never seen him say anything intelligent. Like, he's
Well,
somebody
well,
who
he's
pursued a
also a
career
character,
as a
right?
musician.
He's
I mean,
also
he
a
just
character. You have to
it's
realize
whatever it
he
is, but the
built a
point is,
character. That's
it
not
might
actually
be,
who he is.
but I've
Yes.
even seen him do interviews where he's
Yeah, well,
also
he's a
just says,
character. He's in his character. I'm just
why
saying.
would he
I agree
break
with
it?
you. I'm not
And I don't
disagreeing
know if
with
he's
you.
gonna.
Yeah.
What would he break character to speak about a moral issue? I don't know.
No,
Like,
that's why I'm
that's my
agreeing with
thing.
you.
So then,
Yeah.
if he's not gonna break character and act like a normal person, then there's no point. Like, and he, like, even people were going after Muhammad Salah, for example, because he didn't say anything, and then he put out what looked like a hostage video to say something, literally, as if he was being forced to say it. And again, I do believe people should speak out of all kinds, whether you're famous or not famous. If you
Yeah.
have 50 followers on Instagram or 50 million, you should still, go, post, in support of these things, or you should, donate to certain causes, whatever it is, whatever your form of activism is. But not everybody has to do the same thing. And,
Yeah.
for somebody like DJ Khaled, like, if he is not somebody who can articulately, be articulate in the way he send support, he should, people should lobby him basically to find another way, whether it's financial support or any of that. But I think just because somebody who, like, if you're going to go after everybody who is remotely Palestinian and say, you didn't say anything, you didn't say anything, you didn't say anything. And again, I don't disagree. I think he should be pro-Palestinian. I think he should find a way to express it in a way that makes sense. If he can't say anything, articulate about it, he should have his agent write a statement. Like, he has agents, he has, a whole team of people that do stuff for him all the time. Just have one of them write a statement saying that you support Palestine in a way that sounds nice, and just say, I'll give, $500,000 PCRF, or things like that. I do think people like that have a responsibility, but also a lot of these people went into these careers and got famous, weren't expecting to all of a sudden now be responsible for talking about social and
And they
political
shouldn't be
issues.
really. Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. So my point is, should they be expected to do that? And to what degree should they be expected to do that? Because there's an understanding that if you have a platform, you should speak. But also, what made you become famous? What gave you a platform? And is, like, Muhammad Salah was like a teenager and just got really good at soccer, and all of a sudden he's on a global stage, and now everybody's like, well, what do you think on Palestine? And it's all of a sudden like, but he's like, I just wanted to play soccer and have a career in soccer.
No, listen, I get what you're saying, and I agree with you to a certain extent, right? I think regardless of how you became famous, and maybe this is unfair of me to think that, right? So number one, I don't really have any followers. That was the point of the podcast, right? So I could become famous, become a co-host on NPR with Latif
NPR.
Nasser
Yeah.
and
It might
have a
not even be an
following.
NPR in a few years.
What's
Yeah, and I
that?
was about to say
They might
not
not
if
even
Trump
be in
defends it.
NPR in a few years.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
gonna get
Well, maybe we'll get it funded, but
yeah, okay.
the point is not that how you got famous and now just because you're famous you have to put out a press release, right? I agree with Ismail 100%. Somebody like DJ Khaled should not be saying things publicly because the dude's a clown, all right?
Yeah.
Um, and whether Ahmed, whether he's that's a character or not, I don't know. I genuinely think that's
I
just the
mean, I
way.
think I personally think anybody in the public limelight in that position are have built a persona that's not themselves. They have to.
Okay,
That's my opinion on it.
yeah, yeah, I
That's
get
just
it.
my opinion on it. Like
I get
this.
it. But I don't necessarily think that I want him to do a press release every Friday after Jummah, right? My point is that if you have a certain power, and like Ismail said, you can do whatever you're able to do, right? He has a following. He doesn't have to put out a press release and say something about Palestine. He can repost, he can urge people to donate. He can do different things. I don't, like Ismail said, I don't want him to speak on behalf of Palestinians, on behalf of Muslims and things like that, just because he's not educated enough to do that. But I think you have an obligation, whether that's fair of me to say or not, to do something for your people, right? I think when you come to that point of your career, you should say something, you should do something, and
Yeah,
I
but
don't think.
I
Go
guess
ahead.
my question off of that though is like what and I don't want to be like cynical about this, but like
Yeah,
what
you
would
do.
him saying some what would
No,
him saying something do? Like he's not changing
that
anybody's mind. It's basically his own people saying, "Why are you not speaking up for us?"
But
And it's
Ahmed, you
like,
don't know that. If he puts something on his feed
what?
of that people follow that have no idea what's going on in the rest of the world, it'll maybe open up their eyes, right?
on an individual level, yes, you can say, oh, what's his post going to do? But the idea isn't that you're just after him and telling him and pressuring him to say something. But it's if it's a movement, if you have a like an organized movement behind whatever cause, and you get enough celebrities and enough politicians and enough people behind something, you could push for certain ideas like boycotting and
No, I'm not disagreeing
divestment
with
and
you
all
about
this.
that.
So I think the idea with this is he's just one of many people that are being pressured to speak out. He's
But
obviously not the only person that
but what if he
pro-Palestinian
doesn't
activists.
feel comfortable doing? Like I guess my point is that like everyone does their thing in a different way. Like what if he's
Right.
giving money and you don't know? Like not everybody has to be vocal about the way that they do things. Like he could be giving money and you have no idea. He could be giving billions of dollars and you would have no idea. But we're saying, oh, why didn't you tweet something? And like that's a shame on him. But again,
Yeah, but that could be applied
if
to
you
everybody. I
that's
mean, this is
right, and that's my
but that's
point.
a
I was just gonna say when you go down the list, right, of celeb. No, I'm not talking about just Palestine now, just generally.
yeah, in
If you go
general.
down the list, the I don't want to say the problem, but the issue with cancel culture, one of the biggest issues with cancel culture is that if you do not fit the criteria for these lists of actions that you have to do in each and every action, then you are canceled. That's the problem. So we're talking about DJ Khaled for Palestine, but then the next week it's going to be about something else, and the week after that it's going to be about something else, and the week after that will be about something else. And if he doesn't say for each and every one of them, he is now canceled, right? Because he did not follow the progressive mindset. That's realistically, cancel culture is has been formed out of the progressive
Yeah,
movement.
liberal
Liberal, yeah,
circles,
I
yeah.
should say liberal. I shouldn't say progressive. You're right. Liberal movement, right? So
Right.
if you don't fit the criteria for every single liberal movement that's happening in America, and you don't speak out for every single liberal movement, you are now canceled. That's
Right.
like the idea. So I personally don't agree with that. I don't think that they should have to abide by the lists that they are given and say, speak out for this now, speak out for this now.
But I don't think that's how it's done. So like I'll give you an example.
Not how it's done, but that's
I
that.
know, but I don't, I'm saying like if here's an example, like DJ
Yeah,
Khaled is being pressured because he's Palestinian. On the same on the same point, Leonardo DiCaprio is being constantly being called a hypocrite because he's huge on climate change activism, but he still flies private jets. No one is pressuring DiCaprio to talk about Palestine, and no one is pressuring DJ Khaled to talk about climate change, right? It's usually the celebrities are being um pressured by people from their perspective expect that celebrity to have a certain stance based on things that they say and do. So
you can say that, but like
when
look at what happened with LeBron.
Right,
He
but
spoke out
he
for BLM, and then he didn't
yeah.
speak out for the Uyghurs, and
Right,
he.
because you put these are similar issues. These are still humanitarian issues of a certain
I mean,
minority being
both of
oppressed.
those issues are humanitarian issues. Climate change is also a
No,
humanitarian
no, in
issue.
the sense that it's in the same category of like an oppressed minority. So he put himself in a position
If you're
now.
not rich, you're oppressed. That's
I
that's
mean, sure, but
that's real. I mean, look what's happening with the U.S. government currently. I mean, they're basically cancel culturing the left. That's what they're
yeah,
doing.
yeah.
They're saying, we don't care about what the left has to say. We don't care about what anybody other than a conservative viewpoint has to say. We're doing what we want because we believe this is the correct way to do it. I mean, that's essentially what's happening.
Yeah.
They've taken it to an extreme level of it, but that's essentially what's happening. But that's a byproduct of people being canceled, because cancel culture also canceled Joe Rogan. They also canceled basically everyone in Trump's cabinet currently. That's why they went to the ultra right, because they were canceled from the left. All these guys
Mhm.
were from the left. Like that's my
Russell
point. Like
Brand. Remember Russell Brand? That was a
right,
weird one.
all these guys literally
That's
were part of the left, and they got canceled for whatever reason because they didn't fit the criteria that you
so
had to
that
fit.
so where's
And then
the line
they
then?
became, okay, my home is now the right because at least they don't judge me for not being part of every single thing that you want me to be a part of.
So
That's the problem, is that you ostracize people. That's the issue.
but then where's the line? Where's the line between a celebrity should say
The
something
line, the
and the
line, the line,
celebrity
the
doesn't
line
need
is,
to be
if
involved in
you,
this?
yeah, if the line is, if you don't like what they do, don't buy their stuff. I don't believe boycotting is the same as canceling. Boycotting is
No, but
different.
boycotting is essentially the
It's
same
not,
thing
because
as canceling.
you're still engaging with somebody. You can still
How are you
engage.
engaging if you're boycotting though?
You can still engage with them in like conversation.
I mean,
Like you don't have to buy their stuff. Like
but
you can
boycotting usually happens when conversation fails. That's the point. Like this is why people who say who are in favor of BDS, for example, they're not
well, there's different
they're
levels to
not
this. We're kind of converging a lot of things.
no, no,
Like
but this, I
BTS
mean, it's the same idea. Like if we look at BDS, it's not because, we're trying to bring, Zionists to the table. It's because most people who support BDS believe that Zionism is something that it has no place in society. So you
okay,
are boycotting to force the collapse of Zionist entities. So it's the same
yeah,
thing why boycott in South Africa brought about the collapse of apartheid South Africa. It wasn't a negotiating chip to be like, all right, let's see how we could split
that is
powers.
a negotiating chip.
I mean, it was a
I
negotiating in the
just
sense of eventually taking control of the
okay,
situation.
but let me.
Yeah,
I
yeah. Go
think
ahead.
like, and I just want to clarify, just because there are like obviously different levels to this. Like it's not
Yeah,
just like, obviously there's one to one, there's one to many, there's many to many, there's like country to country. Like there's a lot of like different levels that we could go through.
hmm
Um, but like the way that I have thought about it, and the way that I've kind of come to my understanding of this, or at least my viewpoint of this, is is kind of similar to what I believe um, happened during the time of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, because
so,
when he was essentially, when he was kicked out of Mecca, when he made hijrah to Medina, what was the first thing he did? He made a market, which is basically boycotting anybody else other than him, right? Other than the Muslims, right? That
mhm.
doesn't mean that he didn't talk to anybody else. He just boycotted them financially, because they were able to create their own financial power while also still engaging with the outside groups. He never like ostracized anybody. He never closed the door on anybody. So that's kind of the way I kind of like tried to think about it, is that it's not close the door on every single situation. It's close the door where you give them wealth and power, because let's be honest, money is power in this world. So if you close the door on money, but still engage with them, I think that's good, because you still need to engage with people and show why they're wrong. That's the thing. Like you still need to, like we haven't talked about things in so long that like now Nazi like paraphernalia and like conversation is happening, right? Like
Right, yeah,
because it's been tamped down so long about like why that's a bad thing. That's a horrible thing. Like
right.
regardless of what's happening currently, you can't say that was a good thing. End of discussion, I think. So that's the way I think about it. I could be wrong, but that's kind of the way I think about it. So I think that's a piece that I want to also make sure that we touch upon.
But and by the way, this idea that that subsidized grocery store stifles competition, I don't think necessarily that I don't
believe that that's necessarily true. If you are a private, grocery store, and you're open in a certain area that people can afford it, people will buy it. People also who have money prefer quality, prefer accessibility. So if you're a certain type of grocery store that's closer to certain neighborhoods where people have the money for it, and the subsidized grocery store is not nearby, they're not going to go necessarily to the subsidized grocery store. They can afford your groceries, they're going to get it for ease of access, for a certain quality. Because let's be real, if it's a subsidized grocery store, it's probably not going to offer the same quality that the higher brands or whatever that other grocery stores offer. But the other thing is that I think that that's kind of the whole crux of every American debate is subsidized versus privatization. And when both parties are in the pockets of private companies, it's always going to be the issue of trying to maintain the interests of private companies over the interests of the general public. It's not going to be so much so that, we're the government and our job is to provide. No, the American government, their job has become, because of who pays them, it's become to look maintain the interest of private companies that pay them. That's really what it boils down to, and this is why they've stifled universal health care development and free education and all that. And we see, like, even prisons now are privatized, right? The government won't even run its own prisons. And so when you privatize these kinds of things, it incentivizes, certain types of policies and behavior. So I don't think that the government is, when Mamdani talks about having subsidized grocery stores, it's going to have the same conclusion as every other conversation. That's socialism. You're ruining the free market economy. You're doing this. You're doing that. That's what it's going to boil down to. The question is whether Mamdani can push through and A, win the election, and B, enact that as a policy and in actuality. The reality is we need to stop having this negotiation, and it just needs to be done against the will of these people who are in the pockets of private companies.
Yeah, look,
there's no need to convince, is what I'm saying. Once you enact it as a policy and you see it working on the ground, people will follow through with it, and they'll say, "Oh, look, it's working."
Yeah, I think when you label the program as a socialist program, I think that's where it gets that stigma, right? Where everybody's like, well, no, we're a capitalistic country. That's what we believe in. What's this socialism stuff, right?
Right.
And I think it's what Ismail said. I think the more importantly, it's does he have a chance to win? And that's one. And two, if he does win, is he going to have the capacity to push legislation like that through and have it pass? Look, at the end of the day, is it going to be beneficial for the people who it's supposed to be beneficial for? Yeah, I think so. And I also agree with what Ismail said, is that in terms of the private entities like the Whole Foods and stuff out there, they're not necessarily going to, decrease or lower their prices because you can get the gallon of milk for 250 at the government subsidized supermarket. They're still gonna retain their customer basis, right? It's like what Ismail said. The ease and convenience is there. The options, like so many options are there. That demographic is going to continue to go to Whole Foods.
I don't know, man. I
What's
don't know if I
that?
agree with that.
I mean,
No, you don't. You
I
don't.
know a
there's
lot of I
there
know a
isn't
lot
a
of
whole
people
there
in my
isn't a Whole
job.
Foods
If
in.
they heard they can get milk for a third of the price, you're telling me they wouldn't go get milk for a third of the price?
Right. So now are we
But
talking about
you're
just
opening
like
in
item by
neighborhoods.
item, or generally speaking,
No,
the
item by
general?
item. That's fine. Sure, you can't get your package of Medjool dates from the government subsidized grocery store for like $3. Fine,
Right,
you have to
right.
go to Whole Foods for that. But for everyday items, eggs, milk, bread, if you can get that for a third of the price in New York, that's an extra 6-pack that you can buy.
But there's
I
an
mean,
entire
that's
demographic that
realistically
doesn't.
what
I
they're
mean,
Uh,
thinking.
but
Ahmed,
Ahmed,
I
there's
didn't know
eggs.
this
There
side
are people
about you,
who
man. That's
no
crazy.
but
I'm just trying to
no,
like
no, but this
bring
is
it to
but
real
there's
real
proof of
thing
this
though, because
already.
that's how they're gonna think about it. I can go
Ahmed,
out now. I can
there's
go
proof
buy
of
stuff.
this
That's the
already.
point, because it stimulates other purchases. If you now have $5 extra in your pocket times whatever 3 times, so you have $15. That's a burrito bowl. That's a Chick-fil-A
No,
sandwich.
but
Suddenly you're
Ahmed,
buying more. You
there's
bought
proof of
milk
this
and you
exists.
bought this. Otherwise, you would have just bought milk.
Proof of this exists already, Ahmed.
That's what encourages
Okay.
purchasing.
Yes, but proof of this exists already. If I in my neighborhood, if I go to Lidl, for example, the eggs will be in fact almost a third of the price of eggs in Whole Foods. That doesn't stop people
No,
from
it's
going to
not a
Whole.
third.
Yes, it is,
I
dude.
go.
It's
It's not a
no,
third. I
it
go,
is,
dude.
it is, dude. You go to Lidl, and if you go to ShopRite, which is not as even expensive as Whole Foods, it's already $2-3 more for eggs.
But
So
that's
that
not the
could,
same thing. We're comparing.
but
Okay,
you're saying
first
if
off,
the option exists to be a
Lidl and
third of the
Aldi's
price.
are notoriously known for not having the best quality of things.
But
That so
that's exactly my
so
point, Ahmed. If you're offering eggs for a third of the price, it's not going to be the same quality as what's already sold in Whole Foods or elsewhere. Even if the government is subsidizing, they're going to subsidize the cheapest available version. So it's going to be the same of what already exists. The second thing is most of
it's
these
not gonna be the
prices are going
same.
to be it is because
I'm telling you, it's not gonna be the same.
the other thing is if you have subsidized stores, where are they going to open? They're going to open in underserved neighborhoods.
Yeah,
The people who are buying Whole Foods and buying whatever other high end grocery stores, they're already living in another neighborhood and they make
Yeah,
a certain amount of money and they're going
they're
to keep
not
going to
driving to
those
the
places.
ghetto.
They're not going to go down to whatever other neighborhood just to get a few dollars lower on eggs. If they can afford, $6,000 a month for rent on a 2 bedroom or 1 bedroom or whatever it is in New York, they can afford to pay a little bit extra for
no,
eggs,
because they're
right? So
forced to pay $6,000. It's not that they
I'm
want to pay
saying
$6,000.
whatever the wealthy area of Manhattan is, whatever, or New York. I'm
But
saying
we're talking about you're
whoever's
talking about
paying,
1%.
whoever's living in.
I'm talking about the majority of people in New York who are living essentially paycheck to paycheck, even making six figures, even making at least $150,000, are still living paycheck to paycheck because the rental prices are so exorbitant. They don't
Yes,
have enough
I agree.
money to do anything else.
I
If they
understand.
find out that they can go take the same subway trip, but two other stops to get to a grocery store that will give them the same items for a third of the price, they will
I
do
don't
that.
agree that
In
it's
my
the
opinion,
same. That's my thing. I don't agree it's the same items.
it's the same items.
If Mamdani can even get a subsidized grocery store passed, whoever agrees to be on board with that is gonna get the cheapest. The government, if it's gonna be subsidized by the government is gonna go and get the cheapest available thing to sell. The cheapest available eggs, cheapest quality milk, cheapest quality butter.
I'm
Everything's
not
gonna be
going to
the
speak about the
cheapest quality.
quality of the things until it's out.
But
Like
that's,
I
I
don't
mean,
know what they're going to
that's
do.
it's pretty
My point
obvious that's
is
what they're gonna do. So
my
I mean,
point is my point is there's a lot of things that the government can do, as we've seen with the current federal administration, that you wouldn't expect the government to do. If they take the liberty to do certain things, to negotiate on a wide scale for other various aspects, right? So if you give me this, well, again, this is just hypothetical. If you give me this gallon of milk for X price, we'll give you certain tax incentives, right? So suddenly you're getting it cheaper for great quality milk or whatever, great quality produce, because you're giving them other incentives across the board, because now you can do that because you're a city. That's the difference. You're talking about grocery stores that don't have the broad reach that government does. Government has broad reach for a reason, or not for a reason, but they can use that to leverage, which is what the federal administration is doing. They're leveraging, for instance, Jimmy Kimmel. We're not gonna give you we're gonna remove your license if you keep talking bad about Trump. They can't do that, but they've leveraged that now. So yes, if you were to extrapolate it, they probably would have lost that in court. But ABC didn't want to do that. Disney didn't want to deal with that, so they said, okay, let's suspend him. Now suddenly they're using their leverage to do certain things. Mamdani can do the same thing in the city of New York. He can say, "Give me the best milk, give me the best produce, and I will do X, Y, and Z."
I think
It
you're
doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to
conflating.
be a stick. It can be a carrot. He can say, "We'll give you incentives. We'll do this." But my point is that he can leverage the government in a positive way. That's essentially what. That's essentially
right.
what.
That's
Uh,
fine. Yeah, I'm not
every
seeing what the issue is.
that's the point of everything that the government can do. It's
Right,
supposed
but
to
what's the
leverage
issue
their
then?
power.
But I think you may be conflating the power here with what power he would possess and what power the federal government would possess, right? I don't think Mamdani would have that kind of leverage to pull those kind of strings that you're saying.
So,
I think that's what it is.
okay, Whole Foods. If you don't give whatever, this is maybe a bad example. If you don't, I guess it wouldn't be Whole Foods specifically, but let's just say in a hypothetical world, they were buying it off of Whole Foods instead of going directly to a manufacturer or to like a farm. They buy directly from Whole Foods. Again, this is maybe a bad hypothetical, but let's just go with it go with me here. Okay, Whole Foods, give me your milk for $1 because I'm going to sell it for $2.50. No, we don't want to. Okay, fine. We're not going to give you police presence. We're not going to remove police presence across all your Whole Foods
I
places.
think
I mean,
so.
that's in his remit, though.
I get what
So
you're saying.
like
I
suddenly
get what you're saying.
you're saying he can't do that, but he can if he's will if again, I'm not saying I don't agree with this, but if this is the time that we're in, and he needs to do certain things to improve his standing, say, okay, you don't want to give that to me.
I
We're gonna remove police presence on your corners, and I actually have
I totally get what you're saying, and I totally get where you're coming from. I think we're kind of going down this rabbit hole, but I think I just want to respond to your point is it's market cap, right? So now if Whole Foods, if you're using Whole Foods as an example, we'll just continue on that, right? If Whole Foods is being used as an example, and Mamdani says, "Well, I want your milk for $1, so I can sell it for 250 for the underprivileged." Whole Foods is going to say, "Well, you know what? Then that's fine. We're just going to remove all of our supermarkets from New York, because his reach is only within New York, right? Only within New York City." So I think
perfect. That's a great spot for the government subsidized place.
well, there you go. So I think I've
So it's a win-win.
solved your problem then. So
There you go.
that's what I meant by I don't think he
No
has
one's gonna
the
miss Whole Foods.
Oh,
power.
But that's the point, Sahil. So that they leave, he can take that spot, and then he has more reach to then go to the farmers or to the
He
other manufacturers and say, okay,
he
now we
needs to
have more
still
stores.
find a source that's gonna provide him with that stuff for $1, and that's what I'm saying. I don't think a private company it's going to be beneficial for them to supply that for $1.
I mean, I would have thought the same until I saw what's been happening over the past year. So a lot of private companies are doing things, in my opinion, that are not in the best interest of the long term viability, but they continue to do it. So if that's the trend, why not push it? Why not see what you can do? I mean, that's just my take on it.
I get
It
it.
doesn't make sense for them to continue to kowtow to what Trump is asking when they legally don't have to.
Right.
No, they don't. But because of whatever value they see in it in the short term, they're going to continue doing it. So why not have Mamdani try to push those same boundaries, pull the same strings,
Well, I
see what
think
happens?
at the federal level, I think it goes back to what you were saying that the Democrats did, right? They're just trying to buy their time and wait till he goes out and then do what they really want to do. But anyway, I think we've gone down this rabbit hole quite a bit. Maybe we can devote some more time further at that. And I think we're kind of going long as well. Anyway, I think you have to
Yeah.
go. But I think just to one quick question, get your thoughts, and then we'll wrap it up, inshallah. Is do you guys think that he legitimately has a chance to win? And what do you think
I
the
think
results are going
so.
to be?
I think so. I
I
think
think
he
he
has a
will.
legitimate, yeah, I think he has a legitimate shot at winning. I just don't know if he's actually going to be effective. So we'll see.